industrial plant is taken off stream for a scheduled period of time to perform maintenance, inspections, and testing. Once the plant is off stream, the downtime presents an opportunity that can be used to perform debottlenecking, capital project improvements, revamps, and catalyst regeneration projects. Turnarounds allow for necessary maintenance and the upkeep of operating units. Turnarounds are needed to maintain safe and efficient operation.
I don't know about you, but if I was looking for a sign language interpreter, guess who's first on my list? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my brand new video for the beginning of the week in good old Blighty. But across the pond in the US of A, Paul Tassi is having yet another woke meltdown. Remember when he cried about Stellar Blade getting its uncensored outfits restored? This time, it's about the Acolyte from Disney Lucas. How could that guy defend that awful garbage truck of a show? We'll stick around and find out.
The following program contains naughty bits.
Nice.
One that's bigger than this. More daring than this. Hotter than this. And more exciting than this.
Kathleen Kennedy's all about the force is female. Kathleen Kennedy puts girls in Star Wars. That is simply the anthem of the ignorant and is an ass stupid thing to say.
You know, that Star Wars show that's now been destroyed by Miss Leslie Headband along with Gave Phil My Holy. Forbes reporter Paul Tassi seeds as Star Wars The Acolyte audience scores go even lower. It's so true, actually, and I find his thing very, very amusing. Of course, Paul Tassi will get butthurt about it. This is the same Mr. Tassi who liked Cuties on Netflix. That show, if you want to search for it now, and why would you, in your own deranged mind, would you even go looking for that? That was one of the things that actually put me off from being a 4K subscriber to Netflix. But Netflix knows that's the kind of content, the unsavory content, that will jar the algorithm. So as we look at this now they're saying this is the current score, 15%. But I reckon if I go on here and do a live reaction, so to speak, what will the audience figures now be? Let's have a look. TV shows. Where is the Acolyte? Come on. I think at the moment what's happening, Rotten Tomatoes are deliberately stalling any more bad reviews so it stays at a healthy... Oh, it's still 15%. There you go. What a surprise. Not only does Miss Tassi claim it's review bumming, but he rejects any notion that audiences and viewers think the show is objectively terrible, which it is. No, I am not going to entertain a debate that is not review bombing. A 15% score is barely more than a third of the last most controversial Disney Star Wars projects, The Last Jedi. But then again, Ms. Tassi's acknowledged that The Last Jedi is fundamentally terrible. Her evidence is that a majority of votes on IMDb are scores 1 out of 10, and that the show has received more reviews than previous Star Wars shows on Rotten Tomatoes. However, this does not hold water on IMDb, given, as seen above. Let's have a look, folks. Let's have a look. Holy shit. Oh my god. So the scores of 1 have received 55.2%, 27,000 submitted reviews, compared to all the other graphs above it. So even a 10 gets 3,800 people submitting. Isn't that hilarious? Given the Acolyte has 49,000 reviews, in comparison, Ahsoka has a total of 115,000. Andor 169,000, and Obi-Wan 233,000 reviews. And who could forget Reva as played by Moses Ingram on that particular show? The same Reva whose lightsaber failed to ignite any interest on its own fundraising campaign. Would you like to be a Reva lightsaber owner? Not me. As for why she believes people are rejecting the show, Tassie writes, there are a bunch of dimensions to this, and none of them are good. There is absolutely a racial and gender component to this. A clip from Star Amanda Stenberg about making white people cry was shared tens of thousands of times online, taken out of context from an interview years earlier about her film The Hate You Give. Showrunner Leslie Headland has starred in many YouTube thumbnails lambasting the woke nature of the series, but also allegedly breaks canon, which it does. But the thing is, whether that particular Amanda Stenberg quote is taken out of context, the truth still holds, ladies and gentlemen. She, as a non-binary actress, whatever that means, made those comments. So why don't you just run with it? That's the nature of the internet, Mrs. Paul Tassie, because if you're going to sit there in Forbes and say, well, actually, you know, these people are making this stuff up just to get some new kind of traction, but it doesn't matter because this Star Wars is supposed to be made for me, but as a man who's brown in hue, rejects it straight away because I see this bullshit in front of me. It's not Star Wars. Even the great Billy D. Williams coming in an episode will not actually save my enjoyment of the show. Why would Landau Calrissian even be in the Acolyte? He's too based. He's too straight. You can't have him. He tried to romance Princess Leia to the failed attempts of his own doings because, yes, he was just making that kind of play for Leia just to make Han Solo jealous because he saw the chemistry between those two straight away. And it's like, hey, you know what? I lost the Falcon to you, but you know, I'm going to make a play for your bird here because she's really, really fit. She's a princess. Who wouldn't want to do that?
And who might you be?
Leia.
Welcome, Leia. All right. You old smoothie.
Hello, sir.
And a little bit of trivia for you folks out there. Eric Idle, in his most recent book, well, it could have been a few years ago actually, described why this scene was so intense. Because apparently the Star Wars actors, actresses and crew went on a drink, drugs and God knows what else type of bender with Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones until 6 a.m. the following day, which explains why Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford look absolutely tozzled. That's the sort of news, that's the sort of views you won't hear regarding Lucas Disney film and the continued garbage compact crap they keep churning out. Hilariously, Tassie then admits that people don't like the show because they believe it's law-breaking on a number of levels, from the way it portrays the Jedi space cops, which, yeah, they're very procedural. It's like they turn up, they want to interview the two Padawans. Well, again, this is what you call a handing over a candy to a little kid moment because, hey kid, do you want to go around and slay people with your own dangerous lightsaber, even though you've not been trained? That's a very bizarre message, isn't it? That's why we had those ads back in the 70s in England about never talk to strangers. Tassie claims it's not going to entertain that it's not review bombing, but then provides legitimate reasons for why people are actually disliking the show. Because it's a glorified tax ripoff, Mr. Tassie. It's dog shit from the get-go. Tassie makes it abundantly clear in this conclusion. But the worst Star Wars project by an order of magnitude in the history of the series, and it just so happens to be one most starring black women. This whole situation is a parody of the modern toxic fan base of the series. If you deliberately cast certain people in a beloved franchise but you outline it's a parody, people will actually be on board. They want to see how you're going to rip the complete Mickey out of a beloved franchise. Even George Lucas would be in on the act, wouldn't he? He'll sit back because George is married to a black chick and think, haha, you know what? I actually quite like this. This is really funny. But can we get back and make real Star Wars, folks? Even though George Lucas no longer owns the IP, I'm sure at the back of his mind, he'll actually be saying that. But here we are, folks, another crybaby working in a privileged position for Forbes. And this is what he has to say. The woke ideology was made abundantly clear in the promotion of the show. This is now back to that part place. Actress Jodie Turner-Smith told Entertainment Weekly back in 2023, part of a wave of more inclusive and beautifully represented Star Wars shows. So that felt really cool. And I felt that the importance of that, especially in some of the stuff that I got to where everyone was really excited about what they were seeing, and that what would maybe mean for different fans that don't necessarily look like what you normally think traditional Star Wars fans look like. Oh, are you effing kidding me, Jodie Turner-Smith, the no talent hack who's married to Joshua Jackson, who used to be with Diane Kruger? Good grief, who's now in the loving arms of Norman Reedus? Because if there's anything that I learned from the show, is that the Star Wars fan is varied. She sounds like she's Anne Boleyn again, or a black member of the royal family. Gee, Jodie Turner-Smith plays Meghan Markle. You know what? Even people wouldn't accept that casting choice for so many obvious reasons. I've had enough insufferability for one sitting today, ladies and gentlemen. My poor mind is getting so demonized by this ridiculous narrative out there that everything that used to be white is now absolutely shite. And we're here to change it. But guess what, folks? It's not working. On the magnitude of woke, and I'll tell you what, I saw a live streamer today, not going to name who they are, but they sat there denying all these sweet baby ink nonsense. People were actually in the comment section roasting this man, and he was like, well, it's never been proven, so move on, please. I don't want to talk about that. He's actually even praising the Fable game character, yet we don't know at this stage if that character can be fully customizable, or if you're forced to play as that female god-awful abomination that Playground Games have imposed upon us. We haven't even seen the male counterpart yet, have we? So am I excited about a Fable game? Not at this stage. I mean, Playground Games should go around or go back to making motor racing simulators. That's what they excelled at. And if I were you, ladies and gentlemen, and if you were me, perhaps you should come back for the next video. Now, before I once and truly disappear from your TV screens today, ladies and gentlemen, I need to take you back to this moment in time, 1983. What a great year that was when Return of the Jedi was released at the cinema. And you have to actually watch this, folks, because right now, Lucas, Disney, Star Wars in general likes to divide fans, pretending there's no such thing as diversity. Well, get a load of this.
All I got to say, the Jedi have returned.
We're just fanatics out here waiting on Return of the Jedi. 3 years in the making. We're waiting for this.
Some people don't idolize Darth Vader like I do. See, I want him to get Luke.
And I think that that Luke will destroy Darth Vader.
I guess Darth Vader will die. I'm not sure. I hope he doesn't. I love his black.
Look at that. Look at that. Now, before I get a copyright claim, isn't that just great? It's First of all, the last lady said it was just hilarious. And that's the thing, folks. Even the comments on this video have said the same thing. How wholesome were people back in the 1980s? That is the point. We were wholesome folks. We weren't fighting with each other. We loved the same thing if we were united by it, right? And we don't get that now because there's too much on the internet. There's too much knowing what's around the corner. Back then, you just had to wait in anticipation, folks. And I like that because you're either let down at the end or you just walk away from the cinema thinking, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. So, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, gave Film a holy. Maybe watch videos like this and remember why Star Wars was such a resonating hit with the fans back in the day. And something that will make you folks very jealous, the first movie I ever saw at the cinema was Star Wars all the way back in 1977.